Welcome back, everybody, to the DC New 52 review. I want to thank you personally for tuning into this episode. I am your host, as always, Pauly DC, and let's get into another one of these things. In this review, I will discuss HAWK DOVE Vol.1. It was titled First Strikes, and it was written by Sterling Gates and Rob Liefeld, with Mr. Liefeld doing the art as well. And the first 8 issues were released between November 2011 to June of 2012. Now, since this is my first video review of work by Rob Liefeld, who is synonymous with a whole lot of things, I want to mention that I do not do deep dives into writers and artists. I just discuss what they contributed to the New 52. So, without further ado, this rendition of the duo representing the War and Peace avatars is Hank Hall and Don Granger, and unfortunately, it was one of the 6 titles to be cancelled after only 8 issues, so the whole run is in this book, which is why I will not waste any more time covering that material now. Issue number 1 kicks off in Washington, D.C. with a science terrorist named Alexander Cork hijacking a plane that HAWK and Dove are already aboard trying to stop, and they're fighting off some flunkies with their power sets being listed on one of the first couple pages. Things don't get any easier when a bunch of hyper-powered zombies inside wake up and HAWK has to take them on all by himself, and one ends up entering the cockpit where Dove is trying to gain proper control of the plane, but she loses it thanks to the zombies, so she decides to try and regain it outside. You could have at least told your partner that you were leaving the friggin' aircraft. HAWK deals with a zombie and gets behind the controls with just enough time to only partially bust up the Washington Monument. And I'm no engineer or physicist, but I think even with the plane nicking the thing, I think that would have been a huge disaster. Once on the ground, the duo meet a local special crimes cop, Washi Watanabe. Yep, that's really the name that I read on that page. And he mentions that they have a mutual friend named Captain Asala, who we never meet, plus would like to work with them in the future. Hank is later talking with his hard-ass dad about how Don was not the first Dove, and his brother Don, spelled D-O-N, was the original partner of his. And if you're wondering why both characters had the exact same name just spelled different, I got no idea. Don was apparently killed in a crisis, which is a callback to the Crisis on Infinite Earth storyline from back in the day where he really did die. And if the New 52 plans were to include something like that as unseen in the 5-year origin years, man, that is just unfortunate. Don is seen next with Deadman Boston Brand, since the two are somehow dating. Look, I don't get it either, I'm just here to do the review. The conversations jump between Hank and his dad with brief talk of how the Hall brothers were able to get the War and Peace powers, and then Dawn with Boston saying how she's been keeping things from Hank, like how she had a personal connection to Dawn Hall. In other words, the Doves were sharing their seed. Also, when Hank is being all pissed that he doesn't like the situation he's in or the new partner he has, it's stated by Dawn that the two have been together as partners for a couple years, which makes Hank come off seeming really petty and nonsensical. What, do you have a meltdown about this every week, or is this just an extremely delayed reaction? Moving on to the last page, one of the enhanced zombies has survived and is about to attack a kid, but is stopped by a HAWK lookalike, the brown and gold Condor. Issue number 2 starts with the captured and beaten Oliver Truly, or Osprey, as he's another avatar, but not for long, as Condor brings in his mentally unstable Princess Leia cosplaying partner, Rachel Phelps, who kills Osprey so she can gain his powers and become the Swan? Not exactly staying on brand with the Birds of Prey thing, but anyway, Rachel gets a yellow and white suit and a nice set of new blonde hair, and then celebrates her transformation with Condor with a big ol' kiss, and he says it's time to find HAWK and Dove. Washi is supporting our titular duo with more juiced up zombies. HAWK is going full WWE on a couple, while Dove investigates the area that is a lab of quirks. then gets a visit from Deadman complaining that she missed a date of theirs. Oh boy. Then those two get attacked by some more zombies that Dove deals with alone, so she tells Boston to take a hike before Hawk joins her just in time to take on even more zombies. A bit later on in the next scene, Hank's dad, who is revealed to be a judge, is being honored at an award ceremony where he reunites his son with an old girlfriend, Ren Takamori, that knows he's Hawk and appears not to like Dawn. It's tricky to discern what was going on where with these early dismissed titles, but if these three were gonna be a love triangle, good luck. Dawn and Hank chat briefly before the party gets crashed by an unknown source, so as Hawk and Dove, they go to check it out, first finding Ren, who had disappeared for a bit, but she's not seen again after this, so I might as well just say it disappeared for good. And then they see Condor and Swan with Hank's dad and the president, who was modeled after Barack Obama here. Issue number 3 continues right from issue number 2, and there's a piece of dialogue from Hank here on the first page that I'm not going to repeat out loud. I'm just going to kind of chuckle at it and let y'all watching comment on it if you wish. Hawk immediately goes after Condor as some Secret Service guys enter the area, allowing him to show off his vulturous love for all flesh, taking one of the guys' heads clean off and then sending the other one screaming. Really? Only 2 guys to try and protect the US president, not to mention that these 2 D-lister villains getting into the event with 0 resistance? Yeah, that's not accurate. Dove is standing off with Swan trying to save Judge Hall, but just gets told that the whole bird avatar thing has a lot more to it than she knows. And after that, the Swan Song ability is shown off. It's pretty useless. Condor breaks from fighting with Hawk to start a fiery explosion as Dove is being snuck up on by Swan, so Deadman randomly shows up to help, possessing the president in order to rescue Judge Hall from the destruction caused by the recent blast, and then assist Hawk as he and Condor are being told to stand down by more agents. Deadman tries to possess Condor only to see some kind of winged creature inside, so he has to exit rather abruptly, allowing Hawk to be overpowered by him, but Dove comes to the rescue, stabbing Condor with a knife that Swan tried to kill her with, causing him to swap face templates quickly and revert back to his normal form. An old man that looks to be in his 60s, maybe even 70s, or older. Oh Lord. Then that means the kiss that he shared with Rachel earlier, who looked to be a teenager. Oh Lord. Issue number 4 opens in a police stronghold where Washi Washi, sorry I couldn't help it, is standing by with Hawk and Dove as they try to interrogate Old Man Condor, but he's not talking, so Hawk is left alone with him. And while outside, Dove is asked a bit of a quis custodiet ipsos custodes question after claiming that she can watch over Hank, making sure that he doesn't cross any lines. This all brings up a memory Dove has of how she fought Swan in issue number 3, and it's seen that she can be quite unpeaceful. But before the beating could conclude, Swan disappeared unexplainably, leaving her knife behind. Dove gets called back into the room with Hawk so Condor can tell them about something called the War Circle and how he wants to kill all the members of it with plans to use Deadman to locate them. Conveniently saying this as Boston makes another appearance. He is definitely stalking Dawn. Condor explains more of his and Swan's plan as she makes a surprise visit of her own, now able to see and touch Boston, and then going on to kidnap him. Dove is super pissed and ready to toss all of her peace avatar crap out the window, but a helicopter containing Alexander Quirk's zombies crash in since Condor is working with him and is able to escape after both of the heroes are subdued. In issue number 5, we see Condor has returned to Swan and they have Deadman trapped in a chaos crystal that opens up a portal to somewhere that they call home. Because sure, why wouldn't that do what it just did?
Hawk and Dove are jumped to next, chasing down a demon named Gob, thanks to reaching out to Deadman's Justice League Dark cohorts, which is a good time to mention that all the Deadman segments from issue 1 to 5 here are a bit weird because nothing of what happened between the two in Justice League Dark is mentioned, where there Dawn has white hair in normal and Dove form, unlike blonde normally here. But again, no talk of any continuation between the new titles, and I just don't get that. Anyhow, Gob is tracked down and beaten for information that directs our two heroes to a portal that will get them to the War Realm. On the way there, Hank demands that they stop to talk out of costume regarding if trying to save Deadman is even worth their time, and I don't know whether he's jealous here, truly being cautious about their safety, or just being a dickhead. The decision to help Boston is made, so once Hawk and Dove find and then enter the War Realm, they find Condor, now in giant four-eyed bird mode, saying that he stole Swan and Deadman's energy, hence them laying on the ground at his feet, talons. This gave me some serious Stephen King It vibes featuring the giant spider creature. Not gonna lie. Hawk and Dove fight tooth and nail with Condor, climaxing in Dove revealing some kind of shining light energy ability that subdues Condor while he begs for mercy. Alrighty. Boston doesn't even thank the duo for saving him, instead breaks up with Dawn and leaves without even saying goodbye. Good riddance if you ask me. Out of all the DC relationships out there, this one is super strange, considering Dawn is little more than a teenager and Boston, ghost or not, was in his 30s, according to most sources when he died. Yikes. Issue number 6 begins in Gotham City with Hawk being chased down by a more classic looking version of the villain Blockbuster, since he's a character that has had a lot of changes. He couldn't even stay the same looking in the New 52. Go check out the Savage Hawkman series to see what I mean there. Hawk gets beat up a bit since not at full strength, but Dove has his back, joining into Tag Team Blockbuster. The two fight him together, but he's still too strong and overpowers both of them in order to steal the Amulet of Ra from Hawk. A trip to Gotham isn't complete without you-know-who, and in this instance, Robin shows up first, and Damian Wayne does not look 10 years old here. More like 27. After a brief scrap with Hawk, Dove intervenes so the three can talk before Batman arrives, saying that a villain girl named Necromancer is collecting artifacts for some big plans that she has. The quartet of heroes fly across Gotham together to find this said Necromancer, who admittedly has a pretty cool design, and when found, Batman takes down Blockbuster with Hawk, while Dove takes on her with Robin. Both sides put down their villain at the same time, but Necromancer pulls a insert generic magic disappearing act joke below, and then the four heroes watch the sunrise as Batman gives advice to our young duo. Issue number 7 is the beginning of a two-part story to round out the series, starting with Dawn partying in a club, with it being said that she's doing a lot of that since Deadman dumped her, but she's not drinking heavily or exposing herself, so what Hank does next, assaulting a guy unprovoked and then ushering her outside to the alley for a chat angrily, is really stupid. So I'll bring up this instead. Why does the bird name call transformation change Dove, Swan, and Condor so heavily, but Hank keeps the same look? I don't know, and I don't care. I say that now because those said costumes have to come out when Hawk and Dove are ambushed by a villain called the Hunter, who looks way too much like Marvel's Kraven the Hunter with a hint of Deathstroke. It's surprising that this character even got approved. He fares well against our two heroes, first going toe-to-toe with Hawk and lopping off a couple of his fingers, and then as Dove tries to fight him, he bullwhips a lock of her hair off.
Hunter then gets caught in the middle of a monologue by a woman named Xyra, 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 who gets him to take off, and after taking Hawk and Dove to her place, she tells them about a group that serves Horus the Hawk, even though there's no mention of Hawkman, mentioning him a lot here, eh? But it is mentioned that the Hunter works for a group called the Diak, which the leader is an older man called the Dragon of Diak, and that's who they need to find next. Issue number 8 concludes this entire series with the Temple of Diak being entered and Hawk having to take on a bunch of the group's ninjas, getting stabbed in what looks to be a fatal place along the way. Okay. Dove and Xyra are searching the grounds in the temple where they run into more ninjas, and Hunter, who goes after Dove, only this time gets his ass kicked by her, but she will not deliver the killing blow even with X-Girl's request to do so. The older leader guy, who is called Dekan, attacks Dove from behind next, and thanks to pieces of the avatars he got from Hunter, aka the hair and fingers, he transforms into a Dragon Man, saying when Power of Peace avatar went to Dawn, he awoke because there's lots of history to the War Circle that we won't find out about, since Hawk randomly kills him from behind out of nowhere, getting Hunter to disappear, Xyra to give thanks and then leave, which then cuts to a later scene with Hank and Dawn ready for what's next for them in the New 52. Spoiler, it's nothing. Alright. Well, what should I say? With this series being one of the first to be sent to the Shadow Realm, no characters from it went anywhere or really did anything else aside from Deadman. Hawk and Dove did get a brief segment in the DC Presents series, but that was it. That was the end. The storyline did have stuff going for it too. Hank and Dawn's relationship had a chance to build on something never seen before. The whole War Circle thing with other bird avatars could have brought in new villains and even other characters, heroes from the New 52. It was there. I think Hawk and Dove would have done better on a team though. The DC Rebirth Titans title I think would have done great in the New 52. Throw Static in there since his series only went 8 issues too, and then maybe a couple others who strangely didn't make the event. Bumblebee, Magenta, Risk, I don't know, a couple others. More breathing room for teenage early 20s characters and opportunity for more villains to make appearances in those titles. And another crappy thing was that when this title was cancelled along with Static, those 3 heroes just kind of vanished. Like I said, Hawk and Dove did make their brief appearance in the DC Presents segment, but they didn't even get mentioned or were seen during the Forever Evil story, which really didn't make sense to me. Now, moving on to the dialogue and art next, we'll start with the dialogue. I don't want to poke at it too much, but man, it is not that strong. I've got a little list here of parts that I picked out, but here are just a few from that. Issue number 1, Hank to his dad. Gonna go blow off some steam, maybe find someone I can beat up. Issue number 2, Hank to Ren. I'm not the one who broke us up because they were worried about being seen around town with someone as handsome as me on their arm. Issue number 2 again, Dove to Deadman. I told you I'm working. I don't have time to be distracted by my ghost boyfriend. And even in issue number 6, there's a part of Hawk's internal dialogue where he calls Batman a rodent, and I really hope this was just to make him look dumb, because if you're writing for DC and don't know that bats are not rodents, man, oh man. With the art on the other hand, I mean, it's Rob Liefeld doing his thing without having to take any type of whatever the equivalence to a studio note is in comics. So there are a bunch of characters having the same hairstyle, lots and lots of teeth, and portion sizes, which will have anyone who cares about that stuff losing their collective minds. However, I am a bit of a sucker for this 90s style art.
It always reminds me of a very fascinating time in the American comic book industry. Very cool and very interesting. I'm getting a bit tight on time here though, so I think I'll wrap this up here, and if you've watched until the end, I want to thank you personally for that, and to please like, share, and subscribe. Join me on all my social media platforms, and to tune in next week for Aquaman Volume 1.